Humans, what have you learned? Programmed to beat you. Humans, what have you learned? I was programmed to beat you. to beat you. what have you learned? Programmed to beat you. To beat you. Humans, what have you learned? It was programmed to beat you.
Sundays, but here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Hello, 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 and welcome back to FRLT. Yes, we return once again. It is time for our Sunday night Fours Championship race. Tonight, we are, of course, Lobby 2 here at 8 p.m. We are one driver short, so we only have 3 teams here in Lobby 2, but we are one driver short, so we will only have 11 drivers here tonight. I understand that, of course, for some people, they're going to be like, oh, why are we going to be one driver short? But it is the way it is at the moment. To be fair, it is the way it is. And we've still got plenty of teams. Of course, you guys would have been watching our Lobby 1 action going on there. I haven't been able to watch it. But we're about to get into qualifying. So let's have a look. We're going to round 5. And it is time for the Shanghai China Circuit. 5.451 kilometers, 3.387 miles, 16 turns, 2 DRS7s down the pit straight and down the back straight. Of course, turn 14 being the hairpin where Max Verstappen and Sebastian Vettel collided back in 2018. Of course, the snaky turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, incredibly snaky, I have to say. And also turn 4 added into that. So, it is round 4 on the calendar. It is round 4 on the calendar. But, although it says it's on the calendar, we did miss the Netherlands because of... because we are, of course, in... we did miss the Netherlands because of the Euros game. I was trying to think of what to say of the Euros game. And so this is counting as round 3, but the Netherlands will return later in the season as basically to fit in between. But everybody can hear me tonight. I hope people can hear me. I'm hoping. I guess we'll have to see, of course, whether... Yeah. Last driver joining. Okay, so we do have a 12th driver joining. Flame, thank you for telling me that we do have a 12th driver joining very shortly. So at least that is something that's something. We will have a full 12. So that is quite nice. Here is the constructors. TIR top of the points with ARO in second. Definitely the front two out on their own at the moment. But let's head to the track. We've just gotten to the track now, by the way. We've just gotten onto the track for the last, minute or so. But nobody's headed out just yet out on the track. Nobody wants to be testing the waters first. Usually how it is. Nobody wants to be testing the waters first. So, we're going to be looking at these drivers. So, we will have a 12-driver grid. We just got to wait a little bit for everybody to head out. We are... yes, Flame. The new driver will have a qualifying ban. I do just want to make that clear to you now. The 12th driver will have a qualifying ban. But that's due to changes late in the lineup instead of just like, because they're late to qualifying. It is actually in the rules. First driver out is a XPG driver. That is Flame, who is the first driver out on track here tonight. Quite nice to have our first driver out. XPG need a big improvement in their current championship positions. They've not been doing the best so far this season. They definitely do need to find some more points very, very, very soon. Let's be honest, they do need to find a lot more points very, very soon. They've got 4 drivers here tonight. They do currently have 3, but another driver is joining very soon. They've got, of course, the legendary Bourbon Boy, also known as just Bourbon as well. You might know him from some other leagues, but it's quite nice to have quite a well-known driver in here, of course, Bourbon. So welcome. I'm going to welcome Bourbon to the league. I know him quite a bit. So let's get on with some of the racing now. We can see, 2 HDL drivers out on track. That's Maslin and Unofficial and Trusted has just come out on track as well. But it is going to be the man of XPG Flame to be the first driver to be coming round. Let's see how he's going to do. He's got to have a good lap here. This is the main thing. He's got to have a good lap when he heads round. He is going to have some traffic if these last few cars do come out very soon. He's going to have quite a bit of traffic coming his way, to be honest. That is going to be a problem. So, here comes Flame. He's coming up to the final corner. Heading round the final corner he goes. Let's see how Flame's going to do on his lap. Opening the DRS down to pit straight. It'll be the first time and the last time in quite a while, for pretty much almost the entirety of the rest of the lap, that he'll have DRS through turn 1. Throwing the car through now into the second corner of turn 2. Quite a bit tighter, a lot slower, low speed. Now into turn 3 again. Low speed, followed by turn 4, which is just flat out acceleration. And there he goes out of there. He's now going to hit the kink of turn 5 to end off Sector 1. Sector 1, a good 23.888. I haven't really raced at China. I haven't actually raced at China yet on this year's game. I haven't done any commentating or anything around China. So, not 100% sure what is a good what is a good sort of time in Sector 1, because he's coming round the rest of the second sector, fast chicanes. Now ending off Sector 2, 51.293. That isn't terrible, as I do know that isn't actually terrible. But a little bit of a toe going on. Ooh, I've mentioned this. I've mentioned this in the rules. I've mentioned this in the rules. This is... oof. I have mentioned this in the rules many times, and and I did have an entire conversation with quite a few managers, and they thought the rule shouldn't be there. I said it should, and the rule book hasn't changed since that conversation. As I'm still looking into, especially with the recent things with Slipstream, but XPG crossed the line 31.019. But with the current sort of amount of Slipstream you get from cars, this is kind of one of the reasons why I didn't want to have it at the moment. If I'm being honest, this is one of the reasons why I didn't want to have it. Trying to find the closest driver to the line. That's unofficial. He's going to be the next driver. You can see how far back the rest of these drivers actually are. They're really, really far behind. Of course, it's an 18-minute qualifying here for tonight. 18 minutes. No, Flame, it isn't allowed. If you read the rule book, it isn't allowed. I have put it in there. And there was a whole conversation about this. Unofficial, over 1.1 seconds slower. We'll look into the incident afterwards, by the way, Flame. I will look into the incident afterwards. Trusted goes even slower, 1 minute 32.589. Nobody putting in any really solid lap times. Maslin goes a lot closer, closest of all to Flame, 1 minute 31.173. Still a tenth and a half behind Flame at the moment. Nazis goes into P3. J7BP goes into P3 now, 1 minute 31.428. A bit slower there. And there's some yellow flags further back. We've got Bourbon Boy. Is he pushing? Yes, he is. He'll be the next driver to cross the line in this session. He's got to get in a good lap here. Good first lap from him. Across the line, Bourbon goes fastest of all, 1 minute 30.477. An exact lap time that he needed to find. Next driver crossing line is Hanzo. He's going to go P2, 1 minute 30.941. Incredibly interesting there to see. Very, very interesting there to see. So, we're going to continue to watch as this session rolls ahead here tonight. Let's see as the session rolls ahead. Marmot, the next driver to be crossing the line. We know George Plaster's on an outlap. George Plaster putting in a good run in the last few races. By the way, if you guys are wondering, there isn't a driver's standings, by the way. There is not a driver's standings this season. Yeah, so if you beat your toe lap, then that's fine. Then it doesn't count. It's only if your best time is what you your best time with a toe is what you end qualifying with, and that's your fastest run. That's what matters. Is that you can see Marmot going P4, HDL chasing after TIR in the championship, of course. Both in the same lobby, AERO in lobby 1, of course, so AERO might be getting a bit of a catch on these guys. 4 teams in lobby 1, 3 teams in lobby 2. By the way, Flame, please let me know when your good old driver's joining us, the 12th driver's joining us, because I have not seen I have not seen anything yet. I have no invites. I need to just let me know, because nobody's in. Looking around at the moment, nobody particularly on fast laps. As George Plaster, as I was saying, he's just starting his lap. It's Unofficial, who's on a slow lap. He's coming in. He's done. Marmaret isn't pushing either. He's going slow. George Plaster, 24.044. Decent. Not as good in the first sector. Still over a tenth. 0.16, by the way, off of the fastest time in the first sector. So he's still, or I believe even more than that now. I think that would be about 0.3 off the time in the first sector. So George Plaster not finding a lot of time there for himself at the moment. So we're going to be looking, of course, HDL want to beat TIR here. They want to catch those points and start catching up. They're third in the Constructors. They haven't had the best of runs this season. They do want to get these points in here in China on this day. They really want to get the points, and they want to get the qualifying position, because at the moment, on average, they do have a better qualifying position, by the way. As it currently stands, as an average, they're having a better qualifying position than TIR this season. Yet their average finish is worse. Across the line he goes. P5, just slotting in behind his teammate by just over a tenth of a second. Not too bad from George Plaster. So, I think we got Flame is on a lap at the moment. No, he isn't. He's not pushing. George Plaster isn't. We got a few drivers on out laps at the moment. The first one to be crossing the line is J7BP. It's been a while since we've spoken about this man, but he needs to get his qualifying's a little bit better. He's not using much pace down the straight. I don't think he's going for a proper run yet. Maslin's going for a proper run. Let's see what he can do in the HDL. He needs to find some time as he heads round the first 3 corners, and now through turn 4 goes the purple and gold car. His teammate, who is on an outlap, actually, that's Marmot who's on an outlap. So maybe they just haven't predicted that best, but it's 800s up in the first sector, by the way. So that's now already seeing him go up ahead of his teammate into P5 as it currently stands. So 800s up on his lap. Not bad for the first sector. Needs to keep on finding this little bit more time, a little bit wide at the apex there. Not hitting it exactly so far. So good for the HDL driver. Up 0.2 in the middle sector now. So he's finding even more time on his lap. He's finding a lot of time on his lap at the moment. 1/4 second up. This is going to send him up into P2 as it stands, by the way. Yes, it's going to send him up into P2 in this session. Let's see what he could do. Opening the DRS down the back straight. Let's see. Can he make this work? Can he make this run and go well? We'll have to see. And heading round the right-hander. Now heading into the final corner. Goes very good. Now across the line. Maslin goes P2. Improvement of 0.3 per second. Not finding a lot of time in that final sector though. So it's not a huge improvement. I think we've got, who have we got? I think we got Tondis. No, that was Bourbon. He's not improving. He invalidated on his run. We have Hanzo, who's down 700ths. He might be improving now. Sliding out of the second corner, out of the final corner. He finds just 1/10 of a second to go ahead of Maslin again. And that, as you see, Flame actually invalidates as well. So Flame's struggling a little bit with his car. Nazy's the next one to cross the... No, it's going to be the man of Unofficial to cross the line next. And he's going to have to cross the line very, very soon and very shortly. He's got to get up that time. He needs to find a lot more time in his lap than he currently has. Here he comes, coming down the back straight, sorry. And now heading towards the hairpin and towards the next 2 corners now. 1 corner remaining. That's all he's got left. That's all he has to do is this last corner. Oh, a bit of a slide. It wasn't perfect there for unofficial. And across the line he goes. Only up half a second. But that half a second is only enough to get him up to P8 as it currently stands. And I don't think anybody improved there. I think the next drive to cross the line there's Naties, who's up almost 2/10 in the first sector. Tonda's improved by 7/10, but he's still last place in P11. So not a huge improvement there. We've got Hanzo, who is not on a lap. He's going slow. Marmeret, who just improved by 4/10 of a second, near on half a second, closest to Bourbon now. He is now the closest to Bourbon in this session. My apologies. Had to move a dog out the way. So, see, the car's going around pretty nicely at the moment. Finally, the 4th XPG driver has joined within the time for just the one last run. George Plaster is starting his run. We got Tondis, who is, I think, coming back to the pits. Yes, he is. He's coming back to the pits. Pits nice and slowly here tonight. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just waiting to trying to find a driver who is on a full push lap at the moment, who isn't just coming into the pits, because I know Marmeret is coming in. I know George Plaster, though. George Plaster up 2/10 of a second in the first sector. He's finding a lot of time. The track evolution definitely getting there. You can see Bourbon's gap is reducing at the top. George Plaster, fine. He loses some time in the middle sector, though, does George Plaster. Only up by 2/10 of a second, so it's only going to make his way up to P5 at the moment. So HCL dominating the top 5, though. Dominating the top 6, 3 of their drivers in the top 6. Let's see, what can George Plaster do on this run, heading down towards the hairpin. By the way, F1 Lexi for XPG, he will have a qualifying ban for tonight, so he will not be doing a lap at the end of qualifying here. And now coming around the final corner, George Plaster, let's see, how much is he going to improve by? Is it enough? It's up by almost 3/10 of a second, but just behind his teammate Maslan and Hanzo. So it's not all of the improvement he'd want to have. Next driver on the lap is Flame. He's down 3/10 of a second in the first sector. I think he might be done with his lap. I think he is. Yes, he is. He's done with his lap. He hasn't improved enough. And Lexi is on the wrong set of tyres. Again. Oh my god. That'd be nice. Marmeret has ultimately retired. He knows. I think he knows he can't improve anymore. We've got Bourbon Boy, who's just started his lap. The man who's on provisional pole. Can he find more time in his lap? Absolutely perfecting these first 3 corners, as we see from the XPG driver. That gold livery, he is really perfecting these first few corners. Now heading towards the end of Sector 1. Is he improving? Yes, he is. He's found another 10th and a half in Sector 1. Looks like he didn't get over the turn and he wanted into Turn 6. Now heading up to Turn 7 and 8. As he flings the car through Turn 7. Now into Turn 8. Which is going to shortly hit the double left-hander of Turn 9. And then, once again, Turn 10. Then he's going to have 6 more corners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners left. And now, hitting the left. Hitting the right. Now to hit another right corner as he heads round at full speed, flat out. As now he heads down the back straight with DRS. The DRS zone is also shorter. Lexi is retired from this session. He knows he can't set a full lap time. Now, as coming down the back straight comes Bourbon. Can he cement his pole position here tonight? Qualifying is now over. George Plaster's in the pits. He's done for qualifying. That is one man done and out. And that has now seen 3 drivers now done with their session. Bourbon Boy cooks it a little bit too much on the exit. Cross the line, Bourbon goes just 900s faster. He really struggled in the last sector. Here comes J7BP. He's improving by almost 0.3 of a second. He crosses the line. He goes P6. His teammate's going to stay P10. He doesn't improve on his lap. The next one to cross the line is going to be Hanzo. He needs to find some time. He's not. He's done. His session is done. Hanzo can't improve either. So at the moment, it pretty much looks like TIR are done for their session. They've got, who else is out there? Maslin coming up to line next. He's improving slightly in the middle sector. He could find himself going up to P3 here and onto the second row of the grid. He's already on that second row, but to cement his position, here he comes up to the line. He improves by just 0.1 but it's not enough to go up to P2. But it's P2 and P3 for HDL at the moment, so that's looking pretty nice for them. Bourbon Boy, of course, found some time, was able to improve. Nate is coming across the line. He's invalidated on the final corner. That's his qualifying done now. Tondis he's gone too deep. He's gone too deep. He's done. His session is now over, and it's pure disappointment. Flame coming up to the line next. Can Flame beat his time? No, he can't. He can't improve either. Unofficial doesn't improve either as well. And that is our qualifying session done here for Lobby 2. And holy, what an end to qualifying. But it is the man of Bourbon who is on pole position. Not by a lot, only 1/10 is splitting P1 and P2. But let's go through the order. Bourbon is on pole with Marmot second and HDL getting P2 and P3. Hanzo is in 4th with George Plaster 5th, J7BP 6th, Flame 7th, Unofficial 8th, Nazy's 9th, Trusted 10th, Tondis 11th, and Lexi in 12th. So quite a spread out XPG, quite a sort of difficult qualifying for TIR as well. But HDL definitely coming out on top in this qualifying with the gap between their teammates. That's something that, you can't deny at all, that there's not a huge amount of a gap between these guys. Let's be honest. Just give me a second. We're going to be readying up in 3 minutes' time. 3 minutes. It is dry for the start of this race. Absolutely. Whew, pretty long one. We've got a lot of racing to go. We've got quite a few laps. I believe it's 26 laps. 26 or 28 laps. I believe it might be 28 laps ultimately round this track. We're going to be readying up in just 3 minutes' time. And that, of course, that time is ticking down. I hope everybody's having an absolutely amazing Sunday night, of course. We've, of course, had the Hungarian Grand Prix earlier, which was nice to have, nice to watch, of course. Exactly what you'll want to be seeing. So that is something, definitely, that is really something. Just going to be waiting for this session to get underway, this race, round 3 of the season to get underway. Remember, TIR on top of the standings. AERO had to have a really strong round here in China, like they did last race in Qatar. They had to have they didn't have a strong round last race. They needed to have it here to overtake TIR and stay in front of HDL. At the moment, HDL looking incredibly strong with their positioning. We're going to be getting going very, very shortly. Less than a minute and a half left. We will be going and giving the drivers some time to talk through with their engineers, getting their strategies right, getting their setups right for this. Of course, it's always quite difficult to get everything right. This is always one thing that I've always said that I consider about racing, and that is that you've got to have time to get your setups up, your everything right, everything going. Going to be quite interesting to see what's going to happen in the next few moments. Make sure to stick around if you guys are enjoying it. Please think about subscribing and leaving a like. It's going to be very, very interesting to see this race go through. I know you only have 12 drivers, but it's still full points and full racing to go between everybody. Still a lot of racing on the way here tonight. Also, make sure to tune in on Tuesdays for Tier 1 and on Wednesdays for our Tier 2 of our main championship. Not 4s, but 2 drivers per team. Make sure to tune in on all of the action we have coming in the next few days and for the next few months. We've got about 2 more months of this season, so make sure to be staying tuned in every week for this. Remember, make sure to stay tuned in for everything that we're going to be having this season. We're going to be getting underway now. Drivers have readied up. It's time to get going for this race. In a minute, we'll be seeing the 5 red lights, and then we will be getting underway for this race here in China. It's quite an interesting track. Of course, only 2 DRS zones. Pit straight isn't usually an option to make an overtake unless you're incredibly close. Turn 1, 2, 3, and 4, quite difficult to make an overtake work unless somebody goes deep. So less drivers making mistakes through those 4 corners. I don't think we'll be seeing a lot of overtakes. Turn 6, of course, is a corner where you can make an overtake, send a dive bomb, for instance, like Daniel Ricciardo did back in 2018 in his legendary victory around China. So, as we're looking at this, we are readying up now. We should be. I'm just going to have to ping everybody just to let them know that we are readying up. So, we are readying up now. We're going to get underway here tonight. It's going to be very, very interesting to see how these drivers are going to do under the racing conditions. Whew. We know it's quite difficult, you know. And here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. And away we go here in China for FRLT, Force Championship for round 3 of the season. Bourbon Boy hasn't gotten the getaway he needed. Margaret takes the lead into turn 1. He goes through turn 2. HDL lead off of lap 1. You can see Hanzo fighting with Maslin there further back. Maslin's still going to come out on top in P3. Sliding for Margaret in front. Everything is still on the line. Heading down towards turn 5 and 6 now. Flat out through turn 5. Going into turn 6. Some teammate battling further back. You can see almost 3 wide further back between some drivers. You can see, I think that is Tondas who's going down the inside of a driver. Lexi isn't getting the best start possible. Maslin is also dropping down the order very heavily. He's down to just P8 already. He's dropping really heavily. Has he got some damage on board? What has happened with his car at this point? I'm really not sure because he is just really struggling off for this start here. It's exactly not what he wanted. You can see a few drivers on hard tires, a few drivers on mediums, 4 drivers on the mediums specifically. So only 1/3 of the grid is on those medium tires. The rest on hard tires. Marmot taking the lead though, 1.3 seconds already off in the lead. Outside of DRS, this is perfectly what he needed to get away off the start. But HDL, overall as a team, not getting the race start they needed. For Marmot, yes. For his other 3 teammates, it's really been a hefty one. Tondas now making the move on J7BP down the inside into the hairpin. He's made the move work and up into P5 goes. Oh! And there goes J7BP. He's had a massive slide, promoting a few drivers up a few places, and he's down to P10 already in this race now. And that is really not what TIR would have been wanting at the moment. Unofficial, not having a best exit from the final corner. He's now fighting with J7BP again. But again, that tyre just not working for the HDL drivers at the moment. They're really struggling to get round on the hard compound sabotage. You can see he's just not making the apex at all for Unofficial right now. But that lead is really starting to stretch out. 1.4 seconds off in the lead is Marmot. And that's now 1.5 seconds. He's getting away incredibly quickly at the moment. So make sure, you can just see, Marmot's got to make sure though, at this point, he doesn't start making mistakes. I think he made a little mistake through the fast left-hander because he's just lost about 1/10.5 of a second through there. He's definitely got the grip advantage, but the amount that this track takes out on the tyres, maybe he might start to struggle later on in this race. Of course, these tyres don't go as long. It is only a 28-lap race, remember. So they haven't got a huge amount of time to get around the track. You can see the rear on the HDL car just really is just wiggling about. It's really struggling to really work there. But at the moment, XPG, P2, P3, and P5, along with P11. As there goes XPG Flame, actually, on Bourbon Void for P2. And now Bourbon Boy drops down another place in this race. And this, although he is on the hard tyres, it's another position and another struggle for XPG. As Nate's making the move on Maslin for P7 and those important 6 points for TIR. They're in the battle, of course, with HDL and with AERO. But as I believe, they're not going to... TIR won't be staying in front of AERO and possibly not even HDL after tonight if this is where they'll finish. Because at the moment, they'll finish with 16. They'll only finish with 17 points scored. Their worst of the season so far. So that is something we've got to be looking at for this season. Marmot making his way round. You can just see that gap staying about the same. About 1.4 seconds is the gap between first and second. Both on medium tyres now with Flame in second. So both of them about equal with each other. But it was a start that Marmot needed because nobody's got DRS on him now. And that car is really hitting the apex of every single corner. So we've got to take that into regard as well. That this is exactly what he'll be looking for here tonight is this. This is exactly what he'll be looking for. This is exactly what he'll be wanting for this race around China. Still, XPG Flame still sitting 1.4 seconds behind Marmot. So XPG drivers not particularly getting closer. But Bourbon Boy makes a move back up into P2. I think they're using each other to give each other DRS down the straights. And now you can see Bourbon Boy within a second, by the way. Almost with it for a split second, as you can see on the timing board. He was within a second of Marmot. But still, they are closing in quite well on the guys in front. They are closing in very well on Marmot with that DRS trick that they're using, gaining a little bit, about a tenth through this final sector, through the last couple of hundred meters. They've gained about a tenth and a half on, now that's about 0.2 of a second on Marmot. But still, that gap might be dropping, but it's only about 0.2 of a second with teamwork. So maybe Marmot has the better race setup at the moment because it definitely seems like that. But I have to give it to Bourbon. He's really doing well to keep up with his tyres because his teammate Tondis is holding up George Plaster, Hanzo is holding up George Plaster and Hanzo behind, and he is on the medium tyres compared to Hanzo on the hards and George Plaster on the mediums as well. But this is the moment where really George Plaster needs to make his way past Tondis is down this straight along with Hanzo as well. They both need to make the move down this back straight because if they don't, they might start to struggle later on the race. Of course, George Plaster needs to go and help his teammate Marmot, who is currently leading. Still Flame not within a second of Marmot just yet. But you can see, we're going to see a move happening now. George Plaster on the back of Tondis. And there he goes, moving clearly to the right. And he's going to be far in front. But Hanzo not getting the same movement there. As you can see, Maslin now making the move on Nazis for P7. Once again, the battling continues. But as it currently stands, XPG now have the best average race position. Currently, I think they're sitting with about P5 as their average race position. P5 or P6 based off of this race alone. So we've got to be counting this in, of course. This is where things are going to matter. But this gap, this 2.6 second gap, which is growing more and more, it's a little bit worrying. It's quite worrying that there is already such a large gap between the drivers. Of course, the top three and the rest. But we'll have to see whether George Plaster is going to catch up to this. Because there's sort of three groups at the moment. There's the front three. There's these three. And then there's P7 down to P11. And then there's Just Trusted, who is currently on his own. Very much in his own little world at the moment. Out on the track. Which, of course, won't be helping his teammates. But he definitely does seem to be struggling at the moment. Oh, and he's going to half spin it. Through the fast left-hander. He half spun it, held on to it, but he's going to lose even more time. You can see now above 7 seconds behind the back of the pack. Just that TIR car not working out for him here tonight. Exactly what he didn't need to be driving here tonight, to be fair. Now, we're going to return our eyes to the front. They're now within a second of each other, by the way. They're within a second. Flame within half a second of Marmot. So these three, these front three, all getting closer. And so is George Plaster. He's ultimately getting closer to the front because these front because Flame and Bourbon Boy have gotten a lot closer. And here comes Flame, heading down the inside into turn 1. They're going to fight HDL versus XPG, something I didn't expect to be saying here tonight. But clearly, XPG have been practicing very hard and very well here tonight for them to be getting the performance they're getting at the moment. They're on for massive points, but here comes Marmot. He's coming back. He's right in the slipstream. We know how powerful it is. He's going to move to the right. He's going to move back onto the racing line. Oh my god, Bourbon Boy almost sliding into the back of Marmot and taking him out. But that has actually made Bourbon Boy miss out a little bit more. Now half a second behind Marmot, and almost about 8/10 of a second off of the leader at the moment. But still, I feel bad for Marmot now. He's in an XPG sandwich. They're going to be working together. But here comes Marmot. He's really pushing at, of course, Flame to get a bit of a move on, because Flame is trying to slow down Marmot bit by bit. So ultimately, it allows Bourbon Boy to move up into P2 and an XPG 1-2 in this race. They're hoping for maximum points, and they've been showing it during qualifying, especially with Bourbon Boy. But here comes Marmot again. Is he going to let Flame stay in the lead, or is he going to make a move? Let's see. Is he going to make the move? Not yet. He's still not making the move just yet. George Plaster, by the way, making his way back up into P4. And you could just see XPG, they're just using this teamwork. Is amazing to see from XPG. I mean, I have no words from XPG. The teamwork that they're using is working incredibly well to slow down Marmot and try, Flame slowing down Marmot, trying to push him back into Bourbon Boy. Here comes Bourbon Boy actually up on the inside into turn 2, through turn 3 now. Marmot's going to have the inside line. Is he going to get the drive out of the corner? Yes, he is. He's also going to be picking up that slipstream as well. And still Marmot coming out in front. He's getting a little bit of a gap. He's going to keep to the inside line. He's trying to stay safe. And, he's almost up on the inside of Flame at the same time as well. The front wing just poking to the rear tire of XPG Flame. Is there still a move happening further back? Here comes Bourbon Boy trying to make a move through the fast left and through the fast right. It's not happening. But while this battling is going on, and while Flame's slowing these guys down, it's allowing George Plaster and the 3 drivers behind them to slowly catch up to them, because now that gap is below 2.5 seconds, by the way. This is the difference. It's below 2.5 seconds. So in a way, for Marmot, he's allowing his teammates to catch up to Bourbon Boy. You can see 1.8 seconds now. He's really dropping the time on these guys further behind. Maslin now making the move on Tondis for P6 in this race. Maybe it is swinging back to HDL's side here. And this is going to be the big question. Is it? Tondis trying to make the move. Marmot and Flame are fighting into the hairpin. Marmot's going to come out in front. Bourbon Boy's trying to get past Flame. Here comes Bourbon Boy on Marmot as well. And Bourbon Boy making a double move into the hairpin and off of the exit. Absolute amazing moves going on. But here comes Flame on Marmot again. Marmot's going to get a bit stuck between Flame and Bourbon Boy. Now heading through turn 1. Marmot having the outside line, which will turn to being the inside line for turn 3. Has he got it? Has he got it? He's still got the drive off of the exit. He's equal with Flame. He is still equal with Flame. Hanzo 1.5 seconds behind. And still Marmot and Flame going at it, fighting side by side. Again, Marmot getting the exit on the curb, being pushed and squeezed all the way. Marmot, he's going to fight for it like he would fight for his life. And he's ultimately made the move work there. And that is exactly what he needed here tonight from the man of HDL. And that is exactly what HDL needed and exactly what he was feeling. But this battling is getting a little bit intense now. And it's all up to these guys to get closer. And now Hanzo, by the way, within a second of Flame. This means we've now got 5 drivers all within a second of each other. Meaning we're now starting to pick up on a bit of a DRS train. With Mazda also catching up to this. Now, as you can see, Bourbon Boy trying to stay in front. He's trying to keep the moves working his way. Exactly what he needs. Exactly how he needs it to work here tonight. Really, it's exactly how he needs. But still, Hanzo and George Plaster catching up to these guys is really important at this point during the race, because it means that they're now within the chance of the victory, of course, and of the podium easily. You can see how much closer Hanzo is now. He's half that gap from what it was last lap. Here comes Flame again on Marmot down the inside of turn 6. These guys are still going at it. They're completely forgetting that there's now 2 other drivers of Hanzo and George Plaster who are, especially Hanzo, but even George Plaster is starting to get into the mix for this battle for the podium and for the battle for the win at the moment. All of these guys, all in the mix, 5 drivers now, all have a chance of winning this race, and they're allowing Maslin and the rest to start to catch up as well, even though Maslin has just pulled out of a second. That could be a 6th driver adding to this group and a 3rd HDL driver as well. So I guess we're going to have to see. But coming down the back straight once again, you can see Hanzo's getting rather close. You can see the rest of the grid pulling around. You can see all of the top 11 heading down the back straight at the moment, all still within so close to each other. Here comes Marmot trying to go down the inside of Bourbon. He doesn't get the exit though. Doesn't get the best exit. He's going to struggle. He still hasn't allowed Flame by. And that is some defensive work while attacking. And that's exactly what Flame is not wanting here tonight. And Flame just really, Marmot has been his nemesis all night long, all race long. Because Marmot has really made this attacking and sort of what Flame would have probably thought would be an easy move now into an incredibly difficult one. Trusted has another spin. Looks more like a half spin than a proper spin. But I guess we'll have to see. By the way, we're now on to lap 10 into the double digits of this race. 10 laps in. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. It means so much to me and everybody here at FRLT. It really does. I hope everybody's having an absolute amazing evening. Because let me tell you, I definitely am. So, we're going to return to this battle still. Now the top 5 even closer. And Hanzo really putting the pressure on Flame. He's really putting the pressure on Flame now. Compared to what it was, he's really hammering down on Flame. The XPG this race were looking untouchable at the start. They were looking like their race pace was on top. Now, the hard tires are starting to come into effect. And here comes Hanzo down the back straight. He's catching up to Flame, going almost 3 wide into the hairpin. You can see Marmot on the inside once again. He's trying to get the exit again, and those medium tires just have enough on them to stay in front. So Nassi's making his way past Maslin for P6 in the race. Some more points, 2 more points in the bag for TIR. Exactly what they'll be wanting. But Hanzo still all over the back of that XPG driver and still unable to make the move just yet. As now they make their way through turn 3 and turn 4. You can see on board with Hanzo a little bit of a slide out of turn 3 and through turn 4. But you could just see the track is pretty smooth, a little bit bumpy in some places. Oh, a big mistake from Flame. Big slide on the rear on the brakes. But it still isn't enough to actually change positioning. And it was a close one for Hanzo. He could have made the move, but it was just a little bit too far in front of him and not big enough of a mistake to really make a move work so far. I believe Trusted, who was 22 seconds off of unofficial and off of the back of the pack. I think he is doing a bit of testing work now for TIR because he's the only driver with a penalty. He's very far for the pack, he's near on 50 seconds. He's 46 seconds off of the back of the pack, and I think he's doing a bit of testing work for TIR now. Which of course will be useful to Hanzo, Nazis, and J7BP, who have all been struggling on their medium and hard tyres, doesn't matter which compound they're on. Except Hanzo, he's definitely had the stronger part of the races so far. He's had the strongest out of any TIR driver, and probably one of the strongest based on racecraft. But Hanzo, he's really putting down the pressure on him now. As Marmot goes into the pits, by the way. Of course, he is on the medium, so he would go in earlier. But to also say, Flame is also on those medium tyres. But you can see already 2 HDL cars are coming into the pits, by the way. But they do have 2 different pit boxes, remember, because these are multiplayer cars, they will have 2 different pit boxes, meaning that HDL are getting away with a very tidy double stop without losing absolutely anything to each other, which is a really good idea that they've actually had in this race, is to do that. And so at the moment, HDL getting away with a nice double stop, and now they might be running P9, P10 and P11, but now on fresh hard tyres that will go till the end of this race. Of course, the mediums only lasting for Flame at the moment. It looks like they might only last just 12 laps into the race, which means he will have to go 16 laps on a set of hard tyres, which shouldn't be too bad if the mediums are still, slightly slower, maybe 1 or 2 tenths slower than the hards a lap at the moment. They look like they're about a tenth and a half, 2 tenths slower a lap than the hards right now. So that is kind of the gap that we might be looking at here. Flame, he's going to be under attack from Hanzo. Heading down the back straight, heading towards the hairpin. He's not really going to fight this, to be honest. You can see Flame, I think he knows he's going to be coming into the pits, so I don't think he's really trying to fight this position with Hanzo. He's just going to lose time, to be honest. Here comes Flame into the pits, flying into the pits. He's got to try and make it round very nicely. He does. Got to watch out for the pit entry line. He's got to slow down enough. He gets a 10-second time penalty. Flame gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. That is big. Tondis also in the pit lane as well, but they share the same pit box. They're sharing the same pit box, of course, because not everybody's getting different ones. But there we go. Tondis not massively slowed down, maybe by 2 seconds, but not massively slowed down here. But look at how far ahead Marmot is. He is absolutely miles ahead. Flame is on the same tyres, but he's also behind George Plaster now, same as Tondis. And this is some crazy stuff going on. Hanzo, by the way, is keeping up with Bourbon Boy. He's keeping up and even beating Bourbon Boy through Sector 1. Trusted has had a bit of a spin. I think Trusted isn't particularly pushing too much now. I think he's just doing some testing on the tyres. XPG, though, let's be honest, Marmot led the first 6 laps of the race without any difficulty. Bourbon Boy has just beaten that. Bourbon Boy now leading the most laps here tonight out of any single driver. You can see Hanzo with that DRS, it's so strong down the back straight, gaining half the time. Maslin getting past the 80s for P3 now and onto the podium. But very interesting to see at the moment how these gaps are going. Flame, though, finding himself over 4 seconds behind Marmot. You can just see, you can't even see Marmot down the road, although you can see it here. But it's such a big gap. You can see, again, Lexi now chasing after that potential chance of P4 at the moment in the order. At the same time, Hanzo trying to chase the lead of the race and get TIR their first lead of a race since, I think it was it might be last race, or I think it was the race before that, by the way. I don't think they actually led the race, led any part of the race last race. So that might be something to look at. Maslin there, 4 seconds behind Hanzo, by the way. So that gap is quite large. A lot of these drivers on hard tyres here. Anybody who hasn't stopped is on hard tyres. Except Trusted. He has stopped, but he's on mediums. As you can see, the gap's coming down by a few tenths a lap. About maybe 1 second to 2 seconds a lap through the corners is that gap. That's how much the gap is coming down each lap. So maybe that's something that maybe Bourbon Boy and Hanzo should be looking at, is how much is that gap coming down and how much will it affect them later on in the race. As we saw, the mediums could last really long. Could last till lap 12 to lap 13 without they could last 12 laps and sort of be keeping up to being slightly slower a lap. Maybe 2 tenths a lap slower, but the mediums don't have a huge advantage over the hard tyres. Of course, the hard tyres are expected to go about 16 to 18 laps here tonight. That's expected. The longest anybody has stretched out the hard tyres. The longest expected is 20 laps. So maybe these guys might be trying to go to the soft tyres. Here comes Hanzo, though, chasing after Bourbon. Can he make a move? Not yet. He can't make the move just yet in this race so far. Heading round turn 2, 3. Now, and through turn 3, into turn 4. Still Hanzo unable to make a move. Marmot moves up to P7. George Plaster up to P8. You can see Flame still. Flame dropping even further behind Marmot. Flame 1.3 seconds with his 10-second time penalty as well. 1.3 seconds behind George Plaster. So, at the moment, the chance of an XPG 1 and 2 really have disappeared here tonight. With their chances of that 1-2 or even a double podium finish, that's really disappeared. Because you got Bourbon Boy, Hanzo, you've got all of these guys who are all within that gap, by the way. So he'd probably, at the moment, he will drop outside of the points with the time difference. Because where Flame is, he's still got 2 more drivers behind who are within 10 seconds. So he'd drop down to P11 as it stands. But let's see, we're going to be seeing as Hanzo heads down the straight. He's already close to this lap. He's already about 0.4 of a second closer. He's gaining. He's going to move to the right. Is he going to make a move? He is braking later, but is he going to make the move? Still no move to be made. J7BP 3 wide into the hairpin, by the way. Contact between Lexi and J7BP. Some contact there into the hairpin. Any damage for anybody? No, but maybe some confidence lacking there. As we can see, Lexi into the pits. Unofficial also into the pits here. So 2 more drivers will enter the pit lane in this race. Still, only 2 drivers with penalties, which is quite nice to see. Only 1/6 of the grid having penalties here tonight. So it's always nice to see that. Who's actually going to come out in front at this point? Who is going to come out in front? It is still going to be Lexi who still comes out in front. So still on for points, by the way. Still on for points for Lexi. Tondis now, sadly, finds himself outside of the top 10 once again. XPG chances of big points really disappearing, along with their chance of a podium. Because see, Marmot, within, he's now within 8.5 seconds, nearly just 8 seconds behind P4 in this race. And at the moment, he's sitting about 14, 15 seconds. He's sitting probably about 16 seconds off of Bourbon Boy. Yes, he's got a few lap older tyres, because I'll show you the tyres actually. Yeah, he's on 4 lap old hards, but if the hards last 16 to 17 laps, he pitted right on time, by the way. He pitted lap, I believe, 11. So he pitted about on time. So he's just got to go 1 lap longer than the average would go, which won't hurt him too much. There's some drivers who've gone to mediums, but we definitely are going to have to see. But George Plaster got overtaken by Flame, by the way. George Plaster was overtaken by Flame. But heading down the back straight again, there goes George Plaster up into P6. He's trying to stay in front. Of course, Flame has that 10-second time penalty. So for George Plaster, he's going to get in that position anyway. Maslin, same thing there. He's on fresh mediums, by the way, so that's why he's going to be faster. Still battling out of the final corner between Flame and George Plaster. Heading down towards turn 1 now. They will be going side by side through turn 1. Flame trying to go round the outside. Has he made it work? No, he hasn't. He still hasn't made it work around the outside. But he's going to go a little bit too deep through turn 3. Contact between Flame and George Plaster. And he's down to P6 for George Plaster. But he's still keeping on the tail, right on the back, right on the gearbox of the man of XPG Flame, and will get past him at the end of the race. Same for Maslin as well. You can just see how much faster George Plaster is than just so much faster. He's just so much faster than Flame. And now Maslin's also there to keep up with them. So this might be a double overtake. Here comes George Plaster down into the next corner, which is the left-hander. This is going to allow his teammate, actually, of Maslin to catch up as well, who should also be able to make the overtake. But once again, Flame has kind of pushed his way back past. But is it enough? Is it enough for Flame? No, it won't be, because as you can see, it's going to be who's getting the DRS. Flame will get the DRS. Maslin, though, is going to go battling with Flame into the hairpin. Are they going to battle? No, they're not. But basically, Maslin is pushing him through the hairpin. But still, Marmot now up into a position. And Marmot leads. And he's got a very big lead to also add on to that, by the way. He has an absolute atrocious lead. Who's going to come out where? Bourbon Boy, is he still going to come out in his position? He's still going to come out P2. But he's also gotten a penalty. He's got a penalty. How big of... He's got 10 seconds! Bowman Boy also sped in the pit lane. He's also got a 10-second time penalty, which means... Holy. That means 2 XPG drivers have 10-second time penalties for speeding in the pit lane. I didn't even see it. Unless I didn't, unless I just I missed it and I didn't see it. You can let me know if you guys saw it come up on screen. Or it just didn't show. Trust gets another 3-second time penalty. But this means XPG are out of the winning chance, and it's currently on for a potential 1-2. It will be currently a 1-2 for HDL, taking a massive 43 points from this race, as it currently stands just from the top 2 positions. Added on with their other 10 points, they're on for 53 points, possibly 54 points by the end of the night. As it stands, this is just crazy. Bourbon might be on fresh mediums, but he's only got 10 laps now to try and gain that 6.7 seconds, 6.5 seconds, and then make an overtake, and then go on to gain another 10 seconds, which, as we've kind of found, around lap 8, the mediums, after 7-8 laps, the mediums kind of equal out with the hards. After the sort of 6-7 laps, they kind of equal out. Hanzo's now made the move on Maslin for P3, but here comes again Maslin on slightly older mediums. He is on older mediums, but he's on slightly older mediums. But again, he can't seem to make the move. Lexi sitting in there. He's got him past Flame as well. Flame just going to be dropping down the order, by the way. At the moment, Flame will drop outside of the top 10. He's actually going to drop down to P11 in this race. So Flame has really ruined his chances, along with Bourbon Boy, who's also ruined his chances, because he's going to drop down outside of the top 8, and possibly he might drop down to P10, maybe even behind Tondis as well. So they might actually be looking at another driver failing to score big points, and XPG really bottling their massive chance here tonight. Trusted is in the pits again. But what are they doing? I know that Bourbon has caught by about 1.5 seconds. By the way, 1.5 seconds in the last lap. But the thing is, in Sector 3, throughout most of Sector 1, it is straight. And in Sector 3, it's the same thing. A lot of it is just straight. So for Bourbon, of course, he's now just losing more and more time, because he's having to battle with this Lexi making the move. We've got quite a few moves happening. Lexi's made his way up into P4. Maslin's down to P5 now. Flame is trying to hold on to P6 for dear life, because Unofficial and George Plaster have caught up, and they're trying to make the move on the XPG driver to make up their positions and get past the man with 10 seconds of time penalties at the moment. Looking ahead to Marmorette. You can just see Marmorette. He's just getting a little bit slidey. Again, another 7 tenths. Another 8 tenths. Another 9 tenths in this sector. In the first sector alone, by the way. So maybe those hard tires struggling a bit more through the first sector. They're definitely struggling quite a bit, because that's now a second. Which is coming down a little bit. Going up and down. But definitely in the middle sector is where maybe those hard tires are equaling out with the mediums. I think that is really where his tires are equaling out, is in the Sector 2 section, where it's pretty much all, there's only one slow corner and the rest are medium to high speed corners. That's really where he's really doing well. Bourbon Boy only catching by 0.3 of a second through that sector, compared to a second through the first sector. So big difference. So we're going to be seeing once again, heading down the pit straight, Flame outside of second, by the way, of Maslin now. So definitely some cars going to be all over the back of some others. You can see now Unofficial making his way past XPG Flame. Has he made the move though? Has he made it work? Did he go too deep? Yes, he has. I have to say, XPG Flame is being very aggressive tonight. Even with his penalty, he's being incredibly aggressive tonight for not letting anybody by. Even with his 10-second time penalty, I understand sometimes it's to defend your teammates, but at the moment, it is only Lexi without a penalty, and inside of the points at the moment. And for Flame, this isn't helping him or anybody driving so aggressively and defending so aggressively, because I saw how he moved across very aggressive earlier on. definitely Flame. I think he's shown so far in this campaign he's rather an aggressive driver when defending, but there's sometimes a limit with how aggressive you can be. So heading round the middle sector now, making their way around, you can see actually Bourbon only catching, by the way, 7/10 of a second this lap, by the way. 6/10 of a second. That's all that Bourbon has actually caught this lap, is 6/10 of a second. He's not caught a lot of time this lap, which you might say still quite a bit, but this is mediums that are fresh and still going. But by lap 23, 24, those mediums are really going to start to struggle because he is pushing them a lot. Hanzo is keeping up with him, same as Lexi, same as Maslin. Both are keeping up with these guys. And here comes Maslin actually trying to go on the man of Lexi. Unofficial, finally making the move and not going too deep into the corner on Flame. And there he goes up into P6 and even more points ahead for HDL, as at the moment Unofficial would make his way up into P5, Maslin in P3. Only one XPG on the podium as it currently would be. But here comes Flame again. Sometimes I question drivers in their ideas and their strategies. And this is one of the times that generally I am questioning it. George Plaster now being allowed through to see if he can have a go at Flame, as well as he really wants to have a go at Flame. Flame driving very aggressively, pushing very, very hard in this session and in this race. You know, he was showing that in qualifying as well, not really giving up any track space to others, not really allowing huge gaps between anybody. But we'll have to see. George Plaster is keeping up with him though, and he's actually catching him so far through his lap. Even though George Plaster is on those hard tyres, he's making it work. Same as Flame, but George Plaster is making it work a little bit better than Flame is. And Flame, I do think, has maybe given up on all hope and is just hoping his teammate Tondas can close up, even though he is 8.5 seconds down the road and outside of that 10-second gap. So at the moment, Flame will be P10 and Bourbon Boy will be down in, I believe, he'll be down in P9 in this race. There's a yellow flag. That's Tondas who's going slowly. Now outside of the 10-second gap. Trusted gets his 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. And TI Trusted, he did 22 laps and he's now finished. He's done. He's retired from the session. Our first retiree. Quite surprised it's taken us 22 laps to ultimately reach that point. But I still have to say, quite nice to have that. Naties gets a 3-second time penalty. So that's going to be something changing further back. But it's really not been TIR's day for their drivers. Somebody's had a yellow... There's a yellow flag. Bourbon Boy, by the way, just made his way back up into the lead of the race. It's taken him a while. It's taken him about 7. It's taken him, what, 6 laps to get there? Yeah, I'm pretty sure 5-6 laps to ultimately get back up into the lead of the race. Lexi, P4. Tondas ultimately retires from the session now. Not a good day for TIR. P9, P10, and P3. Yeah, they're on for 18 points here tonight, but it's 18 points compared to their best race finishes. They've really struggled here tonight. I believe they finished 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th or something in the first race of the season, so nothing really equaling that for them. Also last race as well on top of that. Last race as well was a big one for them, but a lot of these races now not really being a big one for TIR, I have to say. They're really starting to struggle. Hanzo really being the man out there on his own for his team. Same as Marmot and Bourbon Boy. Lexi up there, of course, but still 4 seconds behind these front three. As here comes Maslin again, wanting to make that move for P4 and ultimately make sure he'll get into P3 and on for a double HDL podium. Move further back happening, taking place. Nate's down the inside with his penalty. He's going to try and make a double overtake on the HDL drivers. Still, George Plaster makes it work. And you can see Unofficial trying to make it work around the outside to try and get back past. It doesn't work, but there's still more opportunities. George Plaster chasing after the man of Flame. Chasing after him very quickly. And still on his way, by the way, at the moment. He might be on his way. It's coming in a little bit closer. He's got to get past Flame soon. But he might be on his way for a potential chance of P6. He's definitely going to get P6, but P5 could also be on the table. So some more points coming HDL's way. Ooh, bit of a move there from Nacy's. A little bit too much of a move, a little bit aggressive there. We're coming down to the last couple of laps of the race. 5 laps remaining of this race, including the final lap, of course. So still a few more laps, last few laps to go. See now the gap 1.3 seconds between 1.2 seconds, 1.1 between Bourbon Boy and Marmot. Those mediums starting to go off in this race now. I said about lap 23, lap 24, the mediums would not be so strong anymore, and that is exactly what's happening. And the slipstream proving to be decently powerful down the straight. Already a 10th gained down the straight for Marmot on the man of Bourbon Boy. So some things turning out quite nicely. George Plaster, by the way, has just made the move on Flame. So has Nates. He's also made the move on Flame at the same time. Nates trying to make the move on George Plaster as well. Why are these guys fighting? Just make your way past. It's not very difficult. George Plaster, he's not going to be allowing Flame to get back by. And ultimately, that means now, you can see Flame trying to go for it again. You can see George Plaster not being very happy about it. But Flame just... Why is Flame so aggressive here tonight with his moves? He is playing the team game, so Bourbon doesn't lose as many positions. But the problem is here, he's now got a group of cars who really want to push past him and will push past him very quickly, because you can see George Plaster was having none of it down the pit straight, moving very aggressively over, giving maybe Flame a little bit of a taste of his own medicine here tonight. And that is something we've seen a few times. J7BP up to P9 now, ahead of Unofficial. Some things not going some drivers' ways. Of course, Nates has that 3-second time penalty, so he's going to be dropping down a few places. George Plaster getting attacked by J7BP, who's having a real shine of pace. Marmot, by the way, just been overtaken by Hanzo down this second straight. Bourbon Boy now 4 seconds off in the lead. So at the moment, it looks like Maslin might be the last driver to get in there. Maybe Lexi as well. Nobody else will, but these guys will. So now, the battle for the lead is between Marmot and Hanzo as we come down to the final few laps of the race. Here comes Marmot again, down the inside, giving a bit of a squeeze to Hanzo into the hairpin. Didn't look like contact, just a bit of a squeeze. And now, Nate's now making the move into the hairpin on Flame. Flame, please try to not drive so aggressively. I don't really want to be getting complaints tonight from anybody. I understand there's a team game and there's a few things, but there's also a few other things called driving standards. And here comes Flame again. Again. Why Flame? Why? That's my question, is why? Contact between Flame and Nates, by the way. Flame trying to close the door in on the TIR driver. Really trying to close the door. Not working out at all. And ultimately, Nates now into P6 and ahead of Flame. Flame again trying to make his way past. He's trying to make the move work. But I think Flame is now going to have to concede P6 and see that that position gone and done. And now he's got George Plaster, J7BP and Unofficial, who are all sitting behind him, now all wanting the same position as well as Flame. And maybe to move up the order a little bit more and a little bit more bit by bit in this race. So we're going to have to see final 3 laps of the race, by the way. The laps are coming down insanely quickly here tonight. I have to say it's been a very, very, very fast race here tonight with these drivers. Hope everybody's having a great evening anyway. Please think about leaving a like and subscribing to the channel if you guys really do enjoy these streams. Like we do, like I do, and like Cots does, who also did Lobby 1. Make sure to go and look at Lobby 1 as well after this. Marmot, once again, he's trying to make a move on Hanzo. It's not exactly working. Maslin, by the way, made his way past Lexi once again. And this is allowing him back up into the podium position. Double podium for HDL is on their way at the moment. Of course, 2 laps remaining. Lexi is going to be saving behind, wanting to keep the DRS as they head on to the final lap. So this is going to be the big thing. Who's going to be doing well? Bourbon Boy. Has only got to complete 6 more sectors of the circuit. 6 more times. Now he's completed that. One of them, he's only got 5 sectors remaining before the race ends, before he can cross the line in first. I think he knows he's not going to win tonight, but he's going to be hoping he doesn't fall off the podium, because at the moment, he's going to finish P5 in this race. And that is a heavy penalty to take for speeding in the pit lane. Very heavy, yet it is the penalty that he will have to take. So heading down towards the left-hander, really, Bourbon Boy has been the man who's shown his pace. Pole in qualifying, of course, by a decent amount. really bought by a tenth and a half of a second, which is about our average this season. But Bourbon Boy has really shown his pace all race long. This stint on the mediums has been going well, but so many other drivers just didn't get penalties like he did, and that's just kind of allowed them to stay within this chance of getting a win and a podium. And yes, we only have 10 drivers left. Full points will still be awarded, by the way, because it is fours, because we only started with 12. Nate's now making the move. Flame down 2 places, by the way, there. Now, they've lost out 2 positions in the end for Flame. Still, George Plaster, an unofficial, still yet to get past Flame. Still being massively hindered by the XPG driver. But they're still going to gain 2 places for George Plaster. J7BP will ultimately finish P6 as it currently stands. Flame being aggressive again as we go on to the final lap of the race, by the way. Flame being incredibly aggressive. He's down the inside. He's still there. He's still trying to make a move work. Still trying to get back on another driver. He's still pushing all the way to stop them from getting out in front. Still stopping them, trying his hardest. Now heading down into the next corner. Pushing into the back of the TIR driver, actually. Absolutely no words from Flame. The aggression we're seeing from this man is off of the charts. I have to say, it really is off of the charts here tonight. Is he going to send it? No, he isn't. But we've got to return our eyes a little bit more to the front. Bourbon Boy can be left just for now. But it's this battle for the win at the moment between Hanzo and Marmot. Marmot, 3/4 of a second back. He's a little bit too far back. He is going to pick up some slipstream down the back straight. Oh, there's a car that's gone miles off. That is Lexi, by the way. Lexi gets a 3-second time penalty, so I think he's out of the chance of gaining a position. Marmot isn't going to gain on Hanzo, and their main championship rivals have HDL just bottled a victory, but it will be Bourbon Boy who crosses the line for the win. He's got another 10-second time penalty for an unserved penalty, and Hanzo wins. Marmot second. It will be Mazin who's going to finish third. No, he doesn't! No, he doesn't! Mazin is going to finish 1,000th of a second too far off. 1,000th. Oh my god. Just 1,000th. Holy. Holy. No words. Oh my god. That is a horrible feeling. That is a horrible feeling. But it's the Polish driver of Hanzo who ultimately takes the victory here tonight in Lobby 2 of the Force Championship for TIR. Still, HDL coming out with the most points out of any team, by the way, because TIR only came away with 35 points, by the way. They only came away with 35 points here tonight. 18, yeah, so ultimately... HDL top scorers here tonight, but Hanzo wins. Marmot second. Bourbon Boy might have been on pole, but that penalty brought him down to third. Ultimately, Maslin just misses out by 1,000th of a second on P3. Lexi is P5. J7BP finishes 6th. George Plaster 7th. Unofficial in 8th. Nate's 9th. And XPG Flame falls down to 10th. Ultimately, the 2 retirements were Tondis and Trusted. Ultimately, that was a very interesting end. Ultimately, very, very, very interesting here tonight. A lot of hard racing, very exciting end to the race here. There's definitely a lot to take on board, of course. There's definitely a lot to take on board. HDL coming out as the top scorers in Lobby 2. TIR not holding on to their high scoring points, not as high as usual. I think this was their least points scored out of any race. I'll have to double check that actually. Of course, XPG not winning tonight was a really rough one for them. 1 retirement. Really difficult one, of course, but still 3 points finishes in the way. Anyway, with the podium as well to add on to that. So still not a bad day in the end. I think it was P3, P5, and P10. So not the worst of finishes for anyone. Definitely not. Ultimately, that is the end of the stream. I hope everybody's enjoyed it. Please think about subscribing and leaving a like here on our channel. Also think about joining our Discord server. That is all down below. Also make sure to go and follow us on Twitter. The link is also down below there. Just show some support to the league. We put a lot of hard work into it. Ultimately, also make sure to click on the notification bell to know about more content like this. Of course, just to remind you of our weekly schedule. On Tuesdays, we have our great racing in Tier 1. On Wednesdays, we have our Tier 2 in our main championship. But of course, Sundays, we have our 2 lobbies of Lobby 1 and Lobby 2 at 7 PM and 8 PM for our Fours Championship. Ultimately, I hope everybody has an absolute amazing night. And I'll see you on Tuesday. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you very soon. Bye. Sundays, but here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights.
Humans, what have you learned?